I started probably in sometime early 2019. And the poetry was what came first. And it was all almost by accident. I really thought initially this was just going to be a book of poetry. And I didn't intend to publish or anything like that, but I wanted to have a collection, something that would be an artifact of my grief and kind of a container, because that's what I really found. As I started working through this project, the poetry was really a container for my grief. I felt like when I did it right, which was it had to be hyper accurate. There were things about the poetry that it had to be hyper edited, super, super, super accurate to what had happened. And I really knew I was documenting. And when I did that well, I felt a relief of sorts. I felt that things were less heavy when I did that, when I was successful. That evolved. I was sharing some of that with my closest people. And, one of them pointed out, well, where are your abstract paintings that go with this? Because they were familiar with some of my previous paintings. And I thought, oh, that had not occurred to me. And I deeply desired to do that. I felt that that would be a good next step. But it was very, very challenging. Very challenging. I had to wait until I could revisit that grief, revisit the rawness of that. What do I want for people from this project? What is the role? Are they a witness? Are they an observer? Is it some sort of collaboration or participatory? What am I asking of people to share in with me? And that became a really tough thing to assess and really think through because, who wants to visit grief? This does not sound like a good time. And I started thinking about this idea of a vigil, a holding watch with. And I feel like that's what I have for people is I want to hold vigil with them. I want to connect with them through something that was hard for me and might be hard for them, but it will be easier to look at my thing than it is to look at their own thing. So it's not to dwell on my loss. It's not to dwell on my story per se. It's to visit my story and kind of examine what happened there and what I learned from that so that other people can bring with them what tools or whatever they can glean from that experience for themselves. So I started thinking about, well, what does that mean? I don't want to exploit what happened or invade anyone's privacy or betray anyone that was involved. When you are in a series of crises and then ultimately loss and grief, people behave in all different kinds of ways for that. Not everyone behaves at their best during those periods of time, myself included, of course, but I want to drive intimacy with this, but I don't want to exploit. I want it to be personal enough to be universal so that you can see the realness of what happened and, like I said, apply it to whatever in your life that might have happened. It needed to be immersive. Grief is very immersive, and I don't know how else to explain this to people, but I think giving them an immersive experience was very important to me. And recognizing that being uncomfortable isn't always bad, that there are gifts that come with that kind of discomfort. And, this is not a memorial per se. This is not even about my late husband and his journey. It is really a journey that I experienced. Maybe it's a map or even a toolkit. I'm not sure, but it's a documentation of the journey of what it means to live in perpetual crisis, which I learned was different than just regular long-term illness. This wasn't about just long-term care. Long-term care would have been a relief to have that predictability and so forth. But this was about perpetual crisis for years and what it means to balance your entire life and your livelihood and everything that you could do. And, you can't share that with everyone all at the same time or when it's happening to you. But this is my way of sharing now where I feel like I can offer perspective, where I can offer more tools. This is my way of repaying the kindness of everyone who was trying to be supportive and who was trying to keep everyone was trying to keep me afloat during this period of time of constant life and death situations.